The lower edge of an inferior mirage at sea forms the apparent horizon, which is depressed below the astronomical horizon by the dip, which depends on wave heights. Not only that, it depends on the observer height and the distance to the observation. But this point made by Andrew Thomas Young is what I have been saying for well over 2 years. That is, the horizon is 100% apparent. It is created 100% by the refraction phenomena which happen over the ocean. In particular, this clip is going to show you an inferior mirage. Inferior mirages are familiar sights today. Observations since the 1800s. Earliest observations were over bodies of water, and they were mentioned in antiquity as well. The hiding of distant objects by the mirage. This freighter that you're looking at is above the horizon in the distance, and you cannot see the hull because it is behind the mirage. Thank you, Andrew Thomas Young.
I would love for this ship that's coming to pass behind. If it passes behind this oil rig, I think it's going to be ace.
What I would like you to take into consideration in all of my observations, at least, that I am suggesting an alternative way of understanding this information. There are numerous effects happening that we have to understand and take into consideration. First of all, the surface of the water ends and the sky begins, or the platform is observed. But that limit to the water isn't at the base of the platform, so there's distance between that location and the platform. We do not know how far away that apparent horizon is. But what we do know from my own observations and the quote from Andrew Thomas Young at the beginning of this video, this horizon is created by the limit of the mirage. There is a mirage just above the horizon at the oil platform that you can see. But you also need to understand that in that same area to the left and right of the oil platform, the sky is being mirrored. And then behind the platform, when the ship comes into view, that ship is in that location, but it is cut in half by its own inferior mirage. So the bottom portion of the mirage is covering up the hull. The reason why you can't see the hull is because it is obscured by the inferior mirage. So those two quotes at the beginning of this clip cover both of those phenomena. One, this horizon is 100% due to the conditions of the Aetherband. Then, when the ship comes into view, that is 100% the results of the conditions of the Aetherband. That ship is not being lifted up from behind the curve. It's right where it should be, and you cannot see the hull or the water because of the inferior mirage.
I don't want to screw anything up, so I'm not going to touch anything. Pass behind. Pass behind. Passing.
Tutti frutti.
Behind. That is brilliant. That is absolute gold. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I can actually see that with my eye. I can see that, that distortion with my eye. Right? Oh, that's pretty good. Very interesting.
All right. What I want to do right now is to briefly just give you a reference. It's in the description. You can look up this article by Andrew Thomas Young. And this is going to be somewhat of the barge, right, that we just looked at. The freighter that came by, right, was in an inferior mirage. Now, these mirages can have different degrees of intensity. They can be very acute or they can be very obtuse, and this one is just on its way from acuteness to being obtuse. Okay, so what I want you to understand here is that line D is an apparent horizon. It is created by the conditions of the medium through which you are looking. What's difficult when we come to these scenarios is if we only have this one object, like back in the, let's see if I can pull it up and just do this. I'm just gonna do it. Where's my pointing finger? There it is. Was it there the whole time? Just black and white. All right. Okay. So I'm going to try to get that lined up, right? So that's just the horizons match. Okay. So before we had this freighter come in, all we had as an image is the platform. So we might simply think that this is the only thing being miraged, but that's not the case. Everything here in this degree of where the effect is happening, right? So if this platform could be slid laterally left or right, it would move through the same medium and it would be distorted. Okay, so that's how we know this same condition is to the left and to the right, which is why this freighter is moving into and through the same effect at a different distance. Okay, So the limit of the water here is not Earth curvature. This is not the curvature of the Earth. But if I showed a ball-tarred globe flake this picture, they would say, yeah, that's where the curve is, because that's their default. Okay, but in this drawing of this barge discussing these phenomena, this barge physically stops right here. That's where the barge is on the water. Why can you not see the water right here? Because it is in and behind the Mirage. So if the Mirage were not here, you would see the water go all the way up to the barge. It's not difficult. So the explanation for these phenomena have to drop this image behind the curve because they think that this is the curvature. And when you don't see everything, they don't, they can either say that this is being lifted up, which is possible as long as you keep this on a plane. I don't really care what you do above it. The only thing is that this is not below the curvature being lifted up, okay? This ship is not below the curvature being lifted up. Right here above the horizon is the inferior Mirage. It is acute for this platform. But back here, right there, you can see it if you watch this video again. Right here is the fold line for the Mirage, which means that the ship is physically right here, and then right here, the physical ship is hidden behind the Mirage. So that the water would go into the distance, and it would hit the boat right there. You'd see the boat. If there were no inferior Mirage or anything crazy, you would see the water go to the boat just like you see the water in front of the platform. It's not going to be, there's nothing crazy about this. Hey, this just a normal day. But right here above the water, you see the sky mirrored. You see the sky mirrored. We don't have that here. I would say probably because of how high this is. But if we did have a thin strip of sky right here, that would be hiding physical water. Just like this Mirage right here is hiding physical water in the concept. Okay? So, I'm going to go down to the next page, I believe. I have contacted Andrew Thomas Young and asked him why he does not provide real-life photos for his diagrams, because it would make so much more sense. Okay, so here is his diagram of an actual image and the inferior Mirage. Okay, so what I've done is I have found an image that I have of 100%, right, of this right. Okay, so I'm going to put this image right on the water because that's where I cut it off. Right there in the picture I can show you is where it's on the water. Okay, but we have a full image of this house. Full image of this house. And so so you can see, sorry, right? You can see the water goes all the way up to the shoreline. Boop, right there at the shoreline. Boop, right there. See that? Now over here, the water line is dropped. It's down here because all of this water is right here. Okay? Now, what would have been better for Andrew Thomas Young would to have put both of these on the same horizontal so that you would have that compare to. Okay, so you see how Okay, so this is supposed to be a triangle, right? And the triangle comes all the way down here. That's where it physically is. That life, if you traced an imaginary line right there, that's where the physical triangle is. Right there. That line is still there. But the medium is bending it down into an inferior mirage. And I can show you this with a sailboat, right? This is the same thing as a sailboat. Ooh. Oh, I gotta do that. So back out here, bring that down here, and drop right there. Okay. So now it syncs up. Oops. It's right here above the. Right there you go. All right, so here's the image coming down right here and then going back on itself. Everything right here is this right here. Okay? But it drops the water line. See the water line right there? That is apparent. That's created by the inferior mirage. Okay? I don't know if I can find this very quickly. Ay, ay, ay. This. Right? There's the triangle. Down on itself and then back. Right? Same concept. Same concept. The house has it right there. Everything right here below you should see. The water will go straight to it. Boom. Just like right here. You see the shoreline? That's the shoreline right there, right? See that? That's the shoreline. Right there, the shoreline. It goes straight down to the shoreline. Now, what's awesome about this shot is these two conditions are different. This one, my visibility is limited. I cannot see the shoreline. I cannot see the hull of the boat. The boat is closer to me than the house. I can't see the hull. Here, I can see the shoreline. I can see right there, right there below that red roof pavilion is a boat dock. Okay? We cannot see it clearly, but it's right there. You're looking straight at it. Okay? This boat is in the same boating lane as this one. Okay? Because these sailboats have to run in a certain depth. If you look this area up on Google Earth, you'll see the lane where all of these boats go up and down. This is just like like 100 yards, 100 yards offshore. Okay, but this boat in these conditions, this is the full boat right here. Everything, you can see the whole thing. Everything's there. There's no inferior mirage, but here there is. Okay, and then this boat here is taken from right here. This is me standing right here, and I'm taking this shot right here. Okay, now this is the same distance as this, but we don't see the same effect. Okay, the water is being loomed up to an apparent position, and then the boat itself is in its own refraction phenomenon. Okay? It's not, the only thing that's difficult is accepting what you don't want to accept. And that's what we have to deal with these ballers. Okay? It's very, very simple. When you take the time to understand what you're seeing, when you understand that if this is curvature, then this should be curvature, but it's not. This is created by the medium. This is created by the medium. This is directly in front of me. This is directly in front of me. This is directly in front of me. The shoreline right here is right there. Everything gets compressed together. This is crazy stuff. I'm just going to keep going. Okay? Let's see how much stuff. I think. Same focal length, different conditions. Okay? Water is stretching into the distance and it stops. Here we have an inferior mirage. The limit of the water is created by the mirage. This is the same shot. We have more in our field of view here because the effects of the day are different. The landscape is dropped into the distance, following perspective. Everything gets shifted up. Everything gets shifted up. So there's nothing behind this water here on the other side. Everything is compressed in this and fits. It's an incredible display of physics with the optics and the conditions of the medium. Okay? That's why when I take these shots and I try to line up the buoy as best I can, look and see how much distance is here at an angle to the water, right? It's pretty, it's pretty short. But right here, look how much distance is there. Look how much more distance. Where did all this come from? It was there the whole time. It's all compressed right there. Okay? Now here, same thing. Same thing. Now we have a clear, you can't see the houses, but look, there they are. Boom, look how big this house is. Look how big that house is. Okay, this is the shoreline here. You're seeing into the distance. Everything, look how thin and distant this topography is. Look how big and bold it is right here. Right? These are all the same focal length. I don't put these things next to each other unless I forget that I did. And I usually mark it off, okay? That's why I put these together, because they're so stark. Right? This is magnification. This is a diminishing and compressing. Okay? This image right here, the way it looks all fuzzy and wonky, this is very similar to what I would think that ballers would call looming, So, although what's interesting is that you've got a clear shot there. Anyway. But here, right, the reason why we can't see these things is because for them it's behind the curve. Why can't I see the shoreline? It's behind the curve, bro. So then all of a sudden now the conditions of the medium are lifting this up. But see, the thing is that this was already visible. This was already visible, right? So it's not just lifting it up, it's also dropping it into the distance. So look how much smaller it is, right? We could find a lot of these markers and line them up, and they just drop back into the distance. They drop back perfectly to scale with the conditions of the medium. All right. So there you go. I'm going to keep trying to work at this as best I can. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Until next time.